session regarding migration from AC500 version 2 to version 3, and I have the pleasure to present you this small slide, and after the big session will be done by Dominic, who has a very good knowledge on the product. So just small information on who we are, so you know me from the previous session, and then Dominic is also there. Dominic, you can also present you maybe.
Yeah, hello, my name is Dominic Franz. I'm part of the global technical support team. I will take over the hands-on session then after Remy's presentation.
So let's start. So in that session, we will have very short information about migration for AC500 V2 to V3 in terms of some slide to present why and how the O will be handed over by Dominic, which who will present you how to do it with a very practical session. But first of all, let's start a little bit on the really information about V2 and V3. As you know, and I've presented at the beginning of the previous session regarding the Echo V3 product, we are now in a state that we have to migrate from Echo, at least Echo version 2 to Echo version 3, because the product is now in classic from the 1st of October for the digital CPU, and in 2023 for the rest of the product CPU, not the I/O, only the CPU. And then that's why we have absolutely to migrate the application from the customer to the V3 CPU. This migration is also, I would say, this is also a good time to start also to try to migrate as much as possible also the normal V2 to V3 application for the rest of the CPU. The V2 are not yet impacted by this change of life cycle, but you know, everything good at the end, some when, and then it will also the case in some years that we have also to migrate really to the V3. Up to now, this migration, I would say is I would say it's quite easy to do, at least for the Echo, because most of the application, most of the functionality from the Echo V2 are available in Echo V3, and for the customer, I would say it could be a good opportunity also to change to the V3, which provide a lot of more new features and also a more up-to-date product. So that means that the migration is really possible now, and for some feature which are still missing in the Echo V3, a lot of this feature will come till end of the year or in the beginning of next year. So that means that we can really go to the Echo V3 without a lot of problem. And then you have really more performance, more flexibility, and you are benefiting also from the V3 platform. That means that with a lot of new protocol, a lot of new communication capability, and as the footprint of the product is the same, it's not a problem also for the existing cabinet of the customer. You can replace the product with a new one and reuse the existing IOs on the application. So it's very a good opportunity to do the migration, I would say now, and it's necessary also to do it. But we will see later on also, Dominic will show you how to make this migration, which is sometimes not so complicated, I would say. For the Echo version 3, so it was one thing. For the today also version 3 CPU, it's also a very good base of product. A very lot of existing features of the V2 are now also existing in the version 3, and together with a new automation builder 2.6, then will comes a lot of more functionality with the V3. That means that always a lot of existing application for the version 2 can be also moved to the version 3. And then I think it's could be interesting to speak with your customer to see how the migration can be realized also from the existing V2 standard CPU to the new V3 CPU. So this is something which comes, and with the V3, so you have all the new capability for communication that you know already, a lot of new improvement also of the product, and I would say a very big focus also on communication on that product and on cyber security and so on, which is a very good features now in the V3, which was not so good supported in the V2. So it's time also to try to change in the product. Just a very simple overview on the migration to from V2 to V3. First of all, is first step I would say is to find the hardware you need to change from V2 to V3. That means to select the right product to check to make this migration. Check also the availability of the protocol that you have to migrate if the protocol are available in a V3, and then it will be more easier as if it's not yet the case. And then you have also to convert the library and migration of the project and some other consideration that Dominic will show you afterwards how to make it this migration with practical session and with an example of migration from a V2 application to a V3 on running system. And I would say this is a lot of words to say that we can and we have to migrate, and the best way is to see how to migrate. And that's why I think I will hand over to Dominic, and then he can show you how to do this migration on a real application. So Dominic, you can start if you want.
From my side, I will take over the hands-on presentations just to have a short introduction what has changed. So what are the main difference between V2 and V3? We have here now 3 points on the list. The first one is the PLC open style. So if you know the V2 programming, then all function blocks were in capital letters with the underscore in between. So this syntax has now changed because we try to keep also on the line with the other companies. So we try to follow the PLC open style, which is a camel case style, so all together and only the first character in a word written big, like shown here. And in addition, we use the PLC open state machine itself, which means if you have an edge controlled function block, the input is called execute and the outputs are done busy error and the error ID for error number. And here the important thing to know is that in contrast to the V2, in V3 we have an exclusive error. So in case an error occurs, only error is true and not done. So this is a bit different than in V2. So there you need to have a look at inside your program that you don't miss then the errors. The next thing, what is completely different, is the diagnostic system. So if you were accessing the diagnostic in a V2 PLC and now you want to do the same in the V3, it's completely different. So how the diagnostic system is working, there will be a dedicated session next week, so I don't spend too many words on that. And the third thing I want to highlight is the library handling. So in V2, the libraries are more or less inserted as file path. In the V3, there is a complete library manager where you have where you insert in the libraries as placeholders, and the manager itself is checking which is the right version to choose. So also here the management is completely different. But yeah, the libraries you have are more or less the same than in V2. So for now, I will jump out of this presentation and do some practical things. You might have already seen that I have posted a project file into the chat. So what I will try to do now in the last minutes we have is to do a complete upgrade from a V2 to a V3 project. And as said, I have the project I'm working in also in the chat. So if you want to follow live and see where I'm clicking, you can do this. That's up to you. You can also follow me if you want. So you can see I have a little project with a little visualization. So let me maybe just spend some words on the POU. So I have some functionalities as a program which is just reading out the diagnostic message and doing this generation of this more or less sinus wave. And then I have a program which is doing some Modbus communication and also checking if the status is correct. So if I disturb the communication, you might see that there's an error and I have the error number. And yeah, and it's not a big project, but it is enough to show you what is done and how it is working. So when changing to Automation Builder, you can see I have my Eco PLC with an analog input module, and then in protocols only the Modbus TCP client. To upgrade a project, you need to double click on the PLC itself. And then there's the hardware. Here you could change within all V2 PLCs the hardware. And there's also this checkbox, change to AC500 V3 PLC. And then you can select the V3 PLC. So in my case, I'm using also V3 Eco PLC. And then I can just click on Create V3 PLC. It will warn me that it might be not possible to convert everything directly. And now it will take a few seconds to do the complete conversation of the project. And you can also see here that now PLC is more or less loading or already loaded, more or less. So here is now my new V3 PLC, which has all the functionalities more or less inside which were in the V2 PLC. So one thing to know in V2, there's automatically this alarm configuration or the trace element inside or the receipt manager inside, and it's only active if you configure something inside. As it is here as an object, it will automatically also be an object in the converted project. But in case you are not using the alarm configuration or the receipt manager or a trace, you can just delete it from your V3 project and say, okay, this is something I don't need. This is just there because it was in the V2, but I was not using it. So I can just delete it. And then you will find in folders the data types you have, the global variables list you had. Also there, it could be that, for example, this variable configuration is empty. So if not needed, you can delete. The global variables I'm using just to have something inside, so you can see all is converted automatically, and also the visualization I have is there as visualization, so you have it then in dedicated folders. To have a closer look to the hardware itself, so in the V2 I had this AI module with activated channel and the mapped value, and yeah, if you check in the V3, it looks all the same. The channel is activated and the mapping value is there. So all the I/O modules you do not need to care about, they will automatically be converted. The only thing to know the onboard I/O. So here you had 60I, 60O, 2AA, 1AO. So this is looking completely different in the V3 because we have other possibilities, more channels, faster channels, other channels. So there's no one-to-one mapping possible. So if you had mapped values in the V2, they will not be available somewhere in the V3 PLC. So these variables need to be mapped by hand. But yeah, it's only a few variables, so not that many things to do. So as said, the library management is completely different. So when checking the library manager, you can see that there are already many libraries inside, but also something like here a target V2 libraries inside. So the libraries you had in V2 inside, where you don't find a successor in V3, they will be inside here as placeholder. But yeah, you can see with a blue underline, not resolved. So there is nothing in V3 which is one-to-one the same. So for many of them, you have there's this bus diag, and yeah, then we have here the diag S500 library. So the libraries are called different, but you can see that automatically due to the hardware, the right V3 libraries are inside. You just have the old V2 libraries inside, which are not needed. And also here, don't think too much. The old libraries, which are not required anymore because we have the V3 libraries, you can just delete them. It will not really affect your behavior of the program. Now, one more thing to the hardware. In the AC500 V2, we had this Modbus TCP/IP server object, which were used for both server and client. If it's used as server, you need to access the connections. If it's used as client, you can just leave in the 0. So after upgrading, it will add the Modbus TCP/IP server. But in our case, we want to have a client. So also here, the server can be deleted. And then below there's this client protocols. And there you can add an object and add then a Modbus TCP/IP client. So for now, the hardware more or less is now working the same way. I just set this now as my active application. So what I can try now is do a first build of the project and just see which errors I have, because there of course will be errors. So there you can see that I have now 27 errors for my little project. And yeah, it's quite simple. You can just click on error of these errors and jump to the position, and it will automatically tell you what is the problem. So here you can see the priority. So in the V2, we had priorities between 10 and 31. Now we have only priorities between 0 and 16. So the 20 is the priority from V2. Here I cannot use it, so I just set it to 15 or something like this. Furthermore, then it will tell you that something like a type gen is not known. It doesn't know what to do with it. So this is the generator function block, which is part of the util library. If I check in the library manager, I can see, oh, the util library was not added at all. So okay, it's just a missing library. So I can add a library and type in util, and it will show me the util library to add. But as I may not know which library it is, but the function block is called gen. You can also search for gen, and then it will tell you, oh, it's part of the util library. And if you double click then here, it will automatically be added. No further needs to do. Similar like this, there's another unknown type, PLC reboot. Here you can also now see this old V2 style, so all capital letters with an underscore. And as I said, in V3, we have the style different. So there it's then something like PLC reboot in the camel case style. And if I just search for it, so with control and space, it says, there is a function block called PM PLC reboot. So there's a similar function block. Maybe this is the right one, because yeah, it's part of the PM library, which makes sense. So I just say, okay, I use this function block instead. Similar like this, you can here see the diag info. So if I try to search for diag info, it will not give me any useful result. I said that that it is with the diagnostic different between V2 and V3. So whenever you don't have any idea, you can just type in the name and search if there's something, and you can see that there's a diag library. Maybe this could be a good point to start. And yeah, when checking the content of the library, you can see that there's a diag function block. So for the first thing, I just say I use this diag function block out of the diag library, and yeah, more detailed things then in the next session. So I think the first errors I try to solve. So I do another compile and see what is happening, because yeah, now many errors are already solved. So as said, the function block with the diagnostic is working different. So the complete diagnostic, I just comment it out here, and later I can do then the one-to-one for the V3. Another thing to know is when using upgraded function blocks, it could be that somehow when working with the FBD or ladder or other with a picture, that there's set something with a enable input is not really working correct. And what you can do is this update parameters. Then it will update all the parameters once, and afterwards it should work. So now we have after, let me say 10 minutes, a project which is compilable, and we could download it and get it running. So as you can see, there are some steps to do for some function blocks or other libraries, but all the logic you have is more or less one-to-one usable. And especially if you just have binary logic, there's nothing to do at all. It will work immediately. So I more or less commented this diag thing out. So just to have any diagnostic. So here I was checking PLC has diagnostic messages. So I was just checking if there's any diagnostic message at all. So let me check if my new function block has something similar. So you can see it's looking different. What this especially means, I will tell in the other session. But there's a function block number total, which returns you how many errors or how many diagnostic messages you have at all. So I just use this and say, in the moment I have more than 0 diagnostic messages. I just can highlight that there's a diagnostic message. So for now, I need to connect now to my V3 PLC, because now I have a project where I say, okay, maybe this is now in a state where I can download it and see if it's working. So I go to the PLC itself. I scan my network and I see there's the PLC I want to use. And then I can try a first download. And see if everything is working like it should. Okay. I forgot something. But the project notices. Now I have the same program which was running in the V2 PLC now running inside the V3 PLC. So let me first maybe have a look to the visualization and see if it's working or not. So you can see the beat is working, my Modbus communication is working. I can do the same check again, so I disturb the communication. And you can see I have an error number, and if I continue, it will also continue with a diagnostic. So the Modbus communication is back again, and you can see the meter which is going back and forth. You might see that the trend object is vanished because I had the trend there, but the trend is completely different in V2 and V3, so it's not there anymore, and you need to manually insert it. But yeah, this is also just a few clicks. What I want to show is one important thing, which is especially good to see in the Modbus. So here you can see we have this ETX mod mask, which is more or less the style of the V2 PLC. And for some function blocks, we have a compatibility function block, and for others, we don't have it. So here you can see the function blocks which are inside the Modbus library, and there's the mod TCP mask function block. And in addition, there's this compatibility V2, V3, and there's this ETX mod mask, which is the same naming with the same inputs and outputs like it was in V2, so no need to do any updates. And we have for new project this mod TCP mask, which is then in the camel case style and the state machine of the V3. Not for all libraries we have this V2, V3 compatibility available, but for important functionalities it's inside, so it's more convenient for you just to use it in the same style, and for new projects you can use the new function block. Nevertheless, I want to show in the remaining minutes if there would be no one-to-one successor, how to work with a new state machine and the new function blocks, and just to see the differences. Maybe one look again. So the new function block here, I have in the old one I have this enable input, and yeah, in the new function block there's then the other style. So there's this execute input, and the function block is called mod TCP mask. So what I can do is just I exchange the mod mask to the new mod mask functionality and do this here and here. You can now see that the interface has updated, but luckily all inputs are exactly at the same position. So this is now good to have. It could be also with other function blocks that there would be different positions, so that you need to reorder the inputs. But for this function block, it's a one-to-one. And what I said is that in contrast to the V2, we have the exclusive done and the exclusive error, which means here in the successful state in V2, I was checking if the function block was done and had no error. So in V2, in case I have it done, there can be no error. So this second check is not needed at all. So I don't need this end block at all. And I can just say, yeah, if it's done, then it was successful. Yeah, to follow the style, I should also write the done this way. Similar like this, also in the error case, here it says when it's done and it is an error, then I say error. So now we have the exclusive error, which means in case I have an error, it's an error and the done will not be true. So also here, I don't need the second input and I can just leave it like this. And here I had this error selector, so the error number selector, where I said if I have a done, which is either successful or failed, then I write the error number. So here I now need to say, yeah, if it's a done or it's an error, because now I have both cases inside. So this is just for the state machine. Furthermore, there's this error, which was an error number in the V2. In the V3, we have an error ID, which is an enum, so you can directly see a text. What is the root cause? So I changed this, and just to be convenient, also the error number here, which is in V2 it was a word. So here you then have the error ID. So there's important to know I have this AC500 _ Modbus TCP library. So then you can browse to the right error numbers. So here you could say AC500 _ Modbus TCP dot error ID. So also now the variable where I store the error number inside is now from the type error ID. So after now changing from the old style to the new style, do another compile to see if I'm error free. Yes, I can download now my changes to work with a new function block. And you can see the project is still running. I'm writing the outputs. And here you can see the successful is true and the error is not true. I'm now again interrupting the communication. And also now you can see the error is true. And what is a good thing about this enums is now you can see here the value, which is error timeout. So you get a clear identification what is the root cause for the errors when using this error IDs, and there's no need to look up again the numbers and what is the message behind the number. It's all inside the library, all inside the error number. Yeah, this was now in a short period of time a complete upgrade of a V2 project to a V3 project. I hope you could follow the steps.
Thanks a lot, both for the presentation at the beginning and also for the hands-on demonstration, which I think has been very helpful to understand the matter properly. So thanks a lot for showing such great interest, and yeah, hoping to see you in one of the next sessions. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.